Well, welcome back, everyone. This is Charlie McDermott, producer of the show, and once again we have Amy Button with us. Amy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. So, still feel good to have your podcast rocking and rolling, and we're on to the next episode here. Who'd have thunk?
Right?
Uh, so, we got to talking after the last episode, and I mean, obviously, your company, La Sabrina Hair Design. We understand about that. You got into that a little bit in your first episode, but what I love about you and what your company stands for is the cause. I'm just going to call it. You don't just get into business just because I want to open a business, but there's a lot more to it. So I'm going to let you kind of take this topic from here, Amy, and help to get the awareness out there, which I know is, again, a big part of you and what you do.
Yeah, like you said, it is a big part of what we do. So, as a salon, we raise awareness and funding for human trafficking survivors. And it is an issue all over the globe. And then nationally, it's a larger issue than most people know. And then I even have stats specific to Florida within the last 3 years, especially since the pandemic. There's been a lot of updates on that front. But there are about 51,000 human trafficking cases nationally. And in Florida specifically, we're about number three as far as states having the highest amount of cases reported. And currently that number is 2,500, somewhere around there. And unfortunately, at least 142 of those are minors. And I feel like the more people I talk to, the more they're outraged, surprised to find that is something happening in our own backyard. But because it's happening in our own backyard, there's a lot that every single person can do. And so all of our clients that come in, they usually know that that's what we stand for, because I have it on social media. I have it on our website. Our blow dries, we donate 10% of that to organizations that are both local and foreign. And then this Christmas, this is actually the third year that we've done it, is we're putting hair care kits together to be able to give to the survivors. That includes quality hair items that they wouldn't usually be able to get their hands on. But because we're in the beauty industry, I can provide that for them. And yeah, we get really excited about it because every lady likes to open something special on Christmas. And if it has something to do with self-care, we get even more excited. So we're excited to keep those away.
I'm taking notes here, Amy. Christmas is coming up, and this is helpful. Barb's going to be very, very pleased with me. Go ahead. So let me ask you a question or two, just following up. So, and I want to make sure I didn't mishear the numbers. You said 51,000 accounts of human trafficking in the country. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And is that like since they started keeping track of, or is that within a period of time? How do you kind of define that number?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different organizations that just like comb through numbers, and they get a lot of the stats so that it aids the law enforcement, it aids the organizations as they try to reach the survivors, identify victims that are still within the human trafficking world. And the more we know about the numbers and where these cases are being found, the more good that we can do, or do a better job at, meeting their needs. So one of the places that I get my information from, it's a organization called Polaris, and they have pretty up to date stats, and they work very closely with law enforcement nationally. And then there's also it's I want to say it correctly. It's
Mhm.
the human trafficking hotline. So I think it's the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And that is a phone number that you can actually call if you ever feel like something is off and that maybe the person that you're encountering is a victim of human trafficking. And they have a lot of information on their website as well, including like red flags, what to look for, what do you do if you think that you have identified a human trafficking victim. And then just because I have the opportunity, because I have called this number several times and it never hurts to call. And the number is 888 373 7888. And you can call that with as little information. Obviously, it helps if you have a lot more details, but what they do is they build like a case file. So every time you call, it can be anonymous, but I think it's once they get up to 3 different times on a reported case that they get a phone call, then they're able to open an investigation. So it never hurts to call.
Wow. And what would someone be looking for?
Um, So there are a lot of different red flags, and it really depends on the situation you're in, obviously. And it's frustrating because the people that are um, trafficking, they're just really good at what they do. um,
Yeah.
so some of the most common is if you're realizing that there is a person that won't make eye contact. They don't seem dressed appropriately for their surroundings or for their age. If they are always accompanied by somebody, or if they seem like they're in a super controlling relationship. Um, we've heard reports of like neighbors that are noticing just tons of activity all hours of the day. Um, just random strangers that
Mm.
shouldn't be there. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, I think in Florida, that's one of the biggest reasons why people call is just within a community, they're noticing something off on repeat. Um, and they notice some of those red flags. If you're the beauty industry, sadly, which is I think why it hurts me so bad, is the beauty industry is also really high up as far as both labor trafficking and sex trafficking. The cases that they find within the umbrella of cosmetology is disturbing.
Wow.
Um, and so a lot of times you'll see like in a nail salon, if the the stylist or the artist or whatever you want to call them, if they're not able to accept their own tips and it's going straight to somebody else, that's a red flag. So again, there's different red flags for the situation that you're in, but I mean, usually you can kind of just common sense, like, no, this kind of feels like it's off, or the person that you're talking to can't look at you in the eye, or
Yeah.
you know,
So
like that.
it's not like these folks are, in a basement somewhere tied up in chains. They're actually out there in the community and they're generating income for, whomever it is that's rolling over them. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, there are those really ugly situations as well, but the more common one, they're walking around like the rest of us. If they're
Yeah.
a minor, a lot of times they're teachers, flight attendants, nurses in hospitals. They're all trained to try and identify,
Hmm.
because the victims are just they're in the grocery store, they could be in the parking lot, they could be at school.
Right. Wow. So are these survivors, are they typically U.S. citizens? Or are these folks that were kind of brought in somehow to, maybe work off their, so-called freedom?
Yeah. So that is common, especially here in Florida. I think that's why our numbers are so high. We also have a high runaway. lots of children running away from either the foster care system, or they're just not in a safe, secure home. And within hours, literally, usually they're found on human trafficking venues or sites.
Mm.
So, yeah, as far as your question about whether or not they're US citizens, I wrote that down as well. So, in the 142 victims that are minors in Florida in the last few years, 37 of them were citizens. So, I mean, I think that's a higher number than what
Yeah.
people are thinking. They think a lot of people are overpromised things, and they arrive and they're from other countries and they don't realize what they've signed on for. But there's a large majority of them that are actual,
Yeah.
born and raised US citizens.
Wow. It's bringing back memories. My first, I guess, insight to this, if you want to call it that, was I think around 2005. My son was in a movie called Frozen River, and if you haven't watched it, it's worth watching. It was actually nominated for a number of Oscars, and it delved into the smuggling of foreigners across the Indian reservation in upstate New York. Hence,
Yeah.
it would all happen when the river was frozen and the police couldn't really keep track and all that. But yeah, I remember reading the script and well, you can watch the movie too, but it was like,
Yeah.
wow, is this real? Is this really happening here in the United
Yeah.
States? Yeah. Yeah. So then for the folks in Southwest Florida saying, well, not here, this can't be happening here. You could share that, well, that's not true. There's a lot of
Yeah.
that going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's super unfortunate, but yeah, Southwest Florida, I think it has a lot to do with the tourist industry here. It's a lot easier to hide things when you've got people coming and going for short trips.
Yeah.
And it's it's warm here, so I feel like there's just constant traffic. We're also considered a border state, and so there's a lot of international travel and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, this makes it puts us high up on the list, unfortunately. But the law enforcement here in Southwest Florida has really stepped up their game in the last few years and has done a lot as far as reaching the victims and providing for their needs. Um, and there's two different organizations that we support monthly. And one is an actual safe home for minors, and they provide therapy and basic needs, schooling needs, like everything a kid needs. And they love on those kids.
Mm.
It makes me super emotional, but they're so special.
Mhm.
And then the other organization really meets the needs for everyone that's aged out, or is 18 and older, and they don't have quite as many resources because they're over 18, and it's a little more difficult to identify those situations, because a lot of times people are coerced into it with a relationship, and so it seems like the victim is actually a willing party.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it makes it really difficult, but both of those organizations are doing a fabulous job.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. This is really, really important. This is great, Amy. How about anything else that the listeners should know or be aware of?
No, I would just say, like, that the human trafficking number that I shared, just don't
Mhm.
hesitate to
Yeah.
call. It doesn't hurt to call. Um, they take it from there. So if you
Yeah.
go, hey, I saw something suspicious, they'll ask you all of the questions, and then they take it and they will investigate and see if it's an actual case or not.
It's like
So
just listen to your instincts, right? If
yeah,
something's not right. Yeah. So
yeah.
you mind sharing that phone number again?
Yep, it's 1-888-373-7888.
Awesome. Awesome. And then, so you're contributing to these causes on a regular basis. And I know you've got some things going on at uh, the hair design, the salon. What you want to dig a little deeper into what you're doing currently?
Yeah. So throughout the year, we have sometimes like a blow dry-a-thon. We call it Blow Dries
Yeah.
for a Cause. And um, our stylists will come and just donate their time. So 100% of those funds. So we
Wow.
just did that over October and November. On like it was like every Friday, all the blow dries just got donated. And then yearly, 10% of all our blow dry packages, blow dry services, braid bar services, that all goes towards that. And then right now, I'll show you this kit that we're putting together. So each
Ah,
survivor would get quality hair care products. And if you're a lady watching, you know that Redken is a great line. It's quality shampoo. It's also condensed, so you can use less. It lasts you a lot longer. And then who doesn't want a wet brush, because that just glides right through your wet hair after you get out of the shower, and it's great for detangling. And then every girl needs a scrunchie. And then there's a couple of other items that, as we raise money, we're going to add to it. Hair ties, just things that most girls feel like they can't live without. And survivors typically don't get to take anything with them when they're rescued. So these are a necessity.
wow. And so are you, Amy. So thank you for getting this message out and for your care and concern. And yeah, wish you the best of the holiday season, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right. Thank you.